Welcome back to the War Room. This is the 5th episode of the War Room, the AFC West edition. I'm Coach Rather. I'm in the building, and with my right-hand man, I've got the War Room analyst who always brings the heat, Liam Carr.
You already know. Today we're going to be hitting up the AFC West, heading way out there. The division this year is a certified street fight. The Chiefs have had it for nearly a decade, but the crown's feeling a little wobbly. Herbert and Harbaugh proved that they are a good combo. Vegas has a whole new brand new team, brand new coach, quarterback. You got the rookie Brock Bowers coming next year, and you got Ashton Jeanty now, who could be a game changer for him. And Denver is maybe a little scared about Bo Nix's maybe sophomore slump, his little regression.
We've got chaos, we've got contenders, and then we've got the receipts for all four teams. Today we're going to break down your favorite squad, what's working, what's falling apart, and who's going to walk out of this division alive.
And if you still think it's Mahomes, think again. Chargers are stacked. The Raiders could be coming up with Ashton Jeanty, like I said. And Denver, they really proved a lot of people wrong last year.
This is the War Room, presented by the Sideline Journal, where the film doesn't lie. Let's get to work. If you've been riding with us, you know the mission. The next 8 weeks, it's going to be 8 divisions, and every Monday on our Instagram, we're going to be dropping the sideline files on all these teams. And so last week, we broke down the AFC North. There was a fire episode, there was chaos everywhere. This week, it's the Wild Wild West. Mahomes, Herbert, Jeanty, Nix. Let's ride.
Yeah, week one's already insane. Looking at the schedule, we got Chiefs and Chargers in Brazil.
Crazy.
We're diving deep team by team, then calling out shots at the end, the records, maybe playoff, division champ, hot seats, all the works.
Absolutely. And so again, if you don't like the take that we give for your favorite AFC West team, add us on Twitter at the Sideline Journal. Same deal with Instagram and YouTube. We want to know. But anyways, kind of diving into the actual teams here, we've got the Las Vegas Raiders. They're coming off of a mess of a season. Fired Antonio Pierce. They're starting a new era with Pete Carroll and a GM tandem with them. And my first question that I've got to ask you, Liam, is, do you think that with the additions they've made and bringing in Chip Kelly as an OC, can they crack top 15 as an offense?
Top 15 as offense, that's going to be tough. I'm going to have them maybe a little bit outside that. Their offense last year kind of struggled, and the highlight was, unfortunately, and I really mean this when I say unfortunately, was their rookie Brock Bowers. Because if your rookie tight end is stealing the show, I think honestly you got problems elsewhere. Their line is mediocre. Last year their running back situation wasn't the best, but of course we've already said 3 times. But Jeanty's coming in; he could be a game changer. And then Jacoby Myers I think he can really be a threat for that offense. So top 15 seems like a little bit of a stretch to me, Mason.
Yeah, maybe I'm too high on Chip Kelly and the way he's going to build his offense. I love Brock Bowers and I love Michael Mayer and I love what Chip Kelly does with this scheme. I think they're just going to live in 12 personnel and they're going to run it down people's throats and they're going to live to the strengths of Geno Smith in his play action scheme under center with naked boots. Because I'm just imagining it now. You're hitting 3, 4, 5, 6-yard gains with Ashton Jeanty. It's 2nd and 4. Geno Smith under center, takes it, fakes the handoff, rolls out, and he's got Brock Bowers over the middle. He's got Mike Mayer underneath. He's got Jacoby Myers taking the top off, and he's got a big physical guy in Jack Beck on a comeback route. And to me it screams is a team you're not going to want to play. You're not going to want to see week 10, week 11 when bodies are wearing down and you're getting tired and they're building a big, physical, tough brand of football. So maybe I'm higher on them than you are and our viewers are. Let me know if I'm wrong.
That's a fair point, Mason. Here, if you want to maybe expand on why it's going to be such a successful offense, tell me what the difference between Derek Carr, who was with the Raiders before, and Geno Smith.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Derek Carr, the style of quarterback that he was is, if you look back at his Fresno State days, he loved to operate out of the gun. He was a running gun, almost swashbuckling type quarterback. What I mean by that is really, if you turn on his tape, what he reminds me of is Dan Fouts all the way back in the 80s with the Chargers. He would rip it over the middle. He would just say, let it eat, let it eat, let it eat, and he would throw it. Geno Smith, on the other hand, as he's developed in the league, he was honestly somewhat similar to Derek Carr earlier in his career, but why he's grown into being a top 15, top 20-ish quarterback is he's very safe and very protective of the football. So he's got the biggest arm in the world to be able to rip it, but he rips it safely. So for example, he is top 7 in the league in area yards per target outside of the numbers. So in that 2 to 3 yards from the bottom of the numbers to the sideline, he's top, I think, 7 or 8 according to PFF in his accuracy, because he's going to throw it to where either the receiver can catch it or no one can catch it. And so why I think it's going to work for what the Raiders are trying to build on offense is he's going to play it safe, he's not going to turn the football over, and it's going to keep the chains moving.
Yeah, I think Geno Smith might be a little bit better. Derek Carr kind of let it rip a little bit, and everybody says he was just average. I think Geno Smith might just be a little above him, so that's why I think maybe the Raiders can have something here with Geno. My only worry is that, Geno, he's already had the bounce back story, and now he's moving cities, he's moving to a new team. I'm a little worried about, with his age, but, Pete Carroll, I think they've already been together, so there's not going to be too much of a change. And the sportsbook have the Raiders at, guess, 5.5 games won this year. I honestly think that's a little low.
Yeah, I think that's way too low, and I think you're on point there with some of the concerns that you mentioned. They're there, but the question I have for you, Liam, is, the undercurrent story here is Tom Brady in the offseason became a minority owner and has started taking a more active role in the organization. Do you think with Chip Kelly, with Pete Carroll, with Ashton Jeanty, with Geno Smith, that this is the mark of a new era for the Raiders, that they're going to overcome that win total, or are they going to be the same old Raiders?
I was about to say, change doesn't happen just overnight. It's a long process. But then I was looking at the Commanders last year. I mean, brand new owner, brand new head coach, brand new head coaches, brand new quarterback, and look what they did. So, I'm kind of liking that Tom Brady taking control more. Brand new head coach, brand new offensive coordinator, brand new quarterback. I'm not saying it's going to be copy and paste like a gingerbread house, but, I think 5.5 is pretty low for them. I definitely choose the over there. I think that it's just a little too old because, look at Pete Carroll. He was retired and now he's come back. Geno Smith is a veteran. He's not a rookie like Jaden Daniels. So being a playoff contender this year, it's going to be really tough. We'll have to see what that new rule change is that they're voting on maybe today to see, if, well, I don't know. Wild card would be really tough. For a dynasty and for building on this, I'm not the biggest fan, but they could definitely have a great year. What do you think?
I'm going to leave y'all with this. I think the way that they're building their team, it is eerily reminding me of the 2017, 18, and 19 Tennessee Titans. Yes, Pete Carroll's a lot older than Mike Vrabel, but he has a pedigree of being a defensive coach. He goes and hires a proven offensive coordinator with a similar scheme, with similar pieces on offense. That's what they remind me to be. They're not going to win pretty. They're not going to be happy watching the football, but if they could sneak into the wild card round, no playoff team's going to play them. But anyways, Raiders fans, you let us know, did we hit it right or wrong, the state of your franchise? What do you think their record prediction's going to be? Let us know down below.
So the Broncos projection for this year is 9.5 wins. I think that's a lot compared to last year. Not a lot of people had them with rookie quarterback Bo Nix. They didn't say they had a lot of weapons. Sean Payton's, he's cooked. He's too old. But then they came out and they made the playoffs.
They did?
Okay. But, they put up a really good fight. Bo Nix looked pretty good. Cortland Sutton had a pretty decent year. Just all around, they were they were a good team. So what did they do this offseason? Well, they didn't add a wide receiver threat, which I thought was a little strange. Apparently they thought that their tight end position was weak, so they brought in Evan Ingram. I would like to hear who in that office thought their tight ends were toasted and they needed a brand new, veteran. I did like R.J. Harvey. Think he's a great running back, but Sean Payton's going to play running back by committee. They already have two kind of similar run styles, so I was kind of intrigued by why they went with like a third. Their defense, I think, was their best part of their offseason. They added Dre Greenlaw. He does have that, injury history with the 49ers. He's still a physical guy. And then they drafted Jahdae Barron from Texas, the cornerback, with the first round. So they upgraded their defense and offense. I just kind of questioned Mason, like, was this really the best offseason they could have?
I don't know. I mean, like I said, the 9.5 win total, I'm hammering the under because I think it's very hard for the way that their schedule lines up for them to be able to crack 10, 11 wins in their division. They've got a favorable start, but they've got to start off hot with the Titans and Colts. If Cam Ward comes out somehow as Cam Newton with 400 yards and 5 total TDs week 1, you're staring down the barrel of your season not starting off quickly. I don't think that'll happen, but the important start for them is they got to start early because by the week 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, they're playing the Eagles, Chiefs, and a divisional schedule. It's a very tough stretch. So hopefully they start off fast, play their best brand of football. But I actually have kind of a funny story that happened to me today. I was stopping at my local barbershop, was getting a haircut, and my barber's a Broncos fan. And he knows I'm a Cowboys fan, so we just start, riffing with each other. And it was a funny stat. The Cowboys have not beat the Broncos in 30 seasons since the Cowboys beat them in the Super Bowl in, I think, 94 or 93. And
I am rolling.
He believes the Broncos are going to the Super Bowl this season. And I want to know what Broncos fans think because me and, the War Room analyst Liam over here sitting there looking at your schedule, looking at your offseason moves and looking at the division, and I just don't see it. I mean, they don't make any major move on offense. Evan Ingram, I think, is a nice, safe little addition on offense, and R.J. Harvey adds younger youth to the running back by committee approach. But you would think the season Bo Nix just had that you would get a true receiver number 1 or another wideout 1B to pair up with Cortland. 'Cause I do think Cortland Sutton does some nice things. I really do. I just think for me, I struggle seeing him being your true number 1 go-to wide receiver in the clutch. But overall, defensively, their defense, you are not going to want to play. Dre Greenlaw, Taluna Hufanga, Jahdae Barron, adding that to a secondary / back 7 with the Defensive Player of the Year, Patrick Surtain, that's a nightmare defense to play. So they're definitely, the elements are there for if they all mix the right way for them to go on a run. Just like you said, though, I'm concerned if they're actually going to hit their win total. And so building off of that, my question, 2-part to you, Liam, is there a sophomore slump for Bo Nix, and will their defense be able to carry them if that slump happens?
Going in, I wasn't when Bo Nix was a rookie, I wasn't the biggest fan of him. I thought at Oregon, he just did a lot of checkdowns. Like I think a lot of his passing yards just came from checkdowns. In the NFL, I thought he proved that he's a pretty good pocket passer and he's pretty athletic too. There's a lot of questions about sophomore slumps this year with Jaden and Caleb. Was he really that hot? I don't know, but the sophomore slump is dangerous because we saw it with C.J. Stroud a little bit. He did not have as great of a year. They didn't build around Bo Nix that I thought they were. I mean, I had been picking a wide receiver to help him out, but they didn't really. They gave him a tight end in the offseason. They signed Evan, who I don't mean to disrespect Evan Ingram, but was that really their biggest problem on offense? Was the tight end spot? I didn't think so. I'll answer your question. Yeah, I think Bo Nix hits a sophomore slump. The Broncos struggle in a tough decision where everybody is rising. The Chargers and the Raiders are rising. So it's going to be super competitive, and I think the Broncos going 500, around 500, would be a fantastic season for them. So just a little worried about them.
Yeah, for me to play devil's advocate, I know I posed the question, and I agree with you, but my quick little devil's advocate / voice for Broncos fans, Bo Nix's completion rate in college was 77.4%. It was an NCAA record. He came in the league and set the completion percentage record for rookies at like 68%. It fits in really well with Sean Payton's complex scheme. So maybe between that and Sean Payton, that they think it doesn't matter what they have skill talent-wise on offense. They're going to be able to scheme their way through it, play cerebrally enough, and rely on their defense. But my question to the viewers and Broncos fans in general, if you go 9-8 and you somehow miss the playoffs, does the hot seat level meter finally turn up on Sean Payton? Because he's done a lot of stuff in a very short amount of time that's ruffled a lot of feathers down there in Broncos Nation. He came in and did not have a winning season and ran Russell Wilson out of town. Then yes, he does come in and drafts a rookie quarterback and they have a little bit of success. If you miss the playoffs again, does it turn a make or break season going into the third season for Bo Nix? Anyways, let us know down below, Broncos country. Is Nix the real deal or is a slump coming? Hit us up on X and let us know down below. Los Angeles to the Los Angeles Chargers. They're coming off the first season of the John Harbaugh era. They finished with double-digit wins the first time since, I think, Justin Herbert's second season in the league. They go to the wild card round, but they're bounced. They led the NFL in points allowed on defense, the fewest per game at 16 points per game. They established a very physical, tough brand of football. Herbert had one of his most efficient seasons in the league yet. Ladd McConkey came on strong for them. They established Joe Alt's going to be a perennial all-pro offensive lineman, and they followed him up in the offseason doing exactly what the Chargers do. They signed a big physical guard in Mekhi Becton, who's 6'6", 330-something pounds. They go sign two big old running backs, Marion Hampton and Najee Harris. They take a big physical wide receiver in Trey Harris. They re-sign Mike Williams, and you start to see the elements there that are going to add up for a continuation of last season. But what's scary is if you look ahead to their schedule, they open with the Chiefs in Brazil. Then they have a tough ending schedule, which all of them are going to do in this division because the division is tough. But they start off that stretch with the Eagles week 14, and they play divisional schedule down the stretch. And so, kind of looking at where they were at last season, Herbert kind of flames out in the playoffs, throws a bunch of interceptions. The voices are getting louder that Herbert can't get it done. He's not an elite quarterback. Year 2 of the Harbaugh era. My question to you, Liam, is will Herbert finally get over the hump and make a run?
Yes, I think this year is the year. When Herbert first got into the NFL, and he was his rookie season, he was, baptism by fire. I still remember where I was when I watched that game. Tyrod Taylor gets, poked in the lung, punctured lung right before the game, so Justin Herbert has to start against the Chiefs, the defending champs Chiefs. And he goes out and he has a fantastic game. Takes them to overtime. I think they lose in OT, but man, Justin Herbert was slinging that rock. Go look at that first game. It was incredible. And I just, I know how everybody talks about Herbert is the if. If his superpower, if he had a superpower, it'd be if. But honestly, I don't think there's been that great of teams around him. But last year, I think they set a great foundation. A lot of people liked it because they didn't just draft a wide receiver and they didn't just get all the highlight reels. They got Joe Alt with their first pick. A lot of people were upset about that. I remember that. But then they signed, like you said, Becton, another lineman. I think they're building a great foundation. And then they go and get Mike Williams again, which I'm not the biggest fan of. But that running back room.
Pound the rock.
With Mario Hampton and Najee Harris, that's just bruisers. And to go into the winter, whoever they have to play outdoor in the winter, it's going to be really tough. And then they added Trey Harris, who I think is a great wide receiver addition that bumps Quentin Johnston to the third spot, but third target. Ladd McConkey had a fantastic rookie season. I did not expect that. I don't know if anybody expected him to have that good of a season. I think he finished. I know he was top 10 in fantasy football and yards. I'm not the biggest. I don't know about that, but he had a fantastic season. So, is this going to be a year they get over the hump? Super Bowl. I don't know if Super Bowl contention yet. Sportsbook have them with the Broncos at 9.5 wins. I think the Chargers are going to get that. I'm hyped about this team. They lost Joey Bosa, but he wasn't doing that much on defense anyways. So, I think this is a great Chargers team and can really threaten. I think they're the biggest threat to the Chiefs for the AFC West.
Yeah, I mean, that's my hot take. I think that they're going to win the AFC West. I think they're going to go 11-6, 12-5, have the first home playoff game in the Herbert era, because I think the Chiefs are on a downward trend, and I think they're on an upward trend. And so I think you kind of hit it on the head with Justin Herbert. He's always talked about the if quarterback. If he had this, if he did this, if the situation was this. But
His talent is there.
the hardest thing to explain to fans from a coaching perspective is when you look at quarterbacks, rank and evaluate quarterbacks from this perspective, you look at physical traits and physical profile. It's always going to outweigh, until there's a large enough production size, it's going to outweigh what you see in the highlights on the film. Because time and time again on his tape, on his all-22 film, when you look and watch him, his physical traits always show up in moments of crisis and then in the biggest moments throughout the season. Yes, there are the famous ones of, oh, well, he threw 4 interceptions in the playoff game. Well, what happens is the team around him, whether it's on special teams, it's on defense, or things aren't cooking right, he feels like he's got to force the football or force the situation. And ultimately that shows up as a team perspective. It shows that the team is failing him. So yes, he starts forcing the football, but he's doing that because he's trying to play hero ball because it's all on him. I mean, go back to what Liam said. His entry into the league, he has coaching malpractice with Anthony Lynn, who is his OC and play caller, but he's a running backs coach who never called plays till he got that job. And he's not even prepared to be the starting quarterback until, hey, 5 minutes before kickoff, you got to go play the defending Super Bowl champions.
Hey, Tyrod punctured his lung, so suit up. Yeah, basically.
It's like, good luck. So you're definitely, absolutely right on that, Liam. I mean, I think this is the year that they make a run to the championship game. My early prediction, it's a very, very hot take. Depending on how it shakes out in the bracket, if you got a divisional round of Bills, Ravens versus Chiefs, Chargers, I've got a Bills-Chargers conference championship game.
I find that pretty surprising. But, Mason, we were just talking about Herbert really specifically. But I want to know, do the Chargers have the firepower, the group around Justin, to go on this run? We talked about Justin Herbert and his ability, but what about Ladd, Trey, Quentin, Najee, and the rookie Mario Hampton? Is that firepower? We all know defense wins championships, and with Harbaugh and the defense they've made, it's a pretty good defense. But the offense is how you get there. Does the offense have enough firepower?
So here's how I'm going to answer your question. It's going to be a history lesson. You're going to look back at the 49ers teams that Harbaugh had in his early tenure. And it was the same questions. If you looked at the way the 49ers built, was an old Frank Gore enough firepower? Was Vernon Davis enough firepower? Was a retread buzz / generational college wide receiver but average NFL wideout Michael Crabtree, was he enough firepower? Was Alex Smith enough firepower? Then he inserted Colin Kaepernick, and for whatever ended up with him, that 2013 season they went to the Super Bowl. They were one missed pass away from winning the whole thing. So to answer your question, the way Harbaugh builds his teams, yes, there's enough firepower because Justin Herbert is the X factor. He is the firepower on offense. So the way Harbaugh wants to build his teams, he wants to build it through the foundation of your football team, the offensive and defensive line. And that foundation is top 3 on both sides of the ball in the entire league. You got Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. They're going to shut down any defensive pass rush that you have. The weakness of their line was the interior, and they addressed that in free agency, signing Mekhi Becton. So you've solidified that line to where I think they could be the best in football, depending on how it shakes out. You now have a better, younger, more physical stable in the running back room with Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton. You add some elements in the wide receiver room to where truly Ladd McConkey's your X factor there, but you can draw some designer scheme stuff for Mike Williams, for Trey Harris, for Quentin Johnston, and you have the X factor in Justin Herbert. So I think if what we say is true about Justin Herbert, that he is an X factor, that he is a top 5 quarterback, this season is going to put him in a situation where there's no excuse. And I think you can see it with Harbaugh. He finally
has that team around him.
Yep, and you can see it with Harbaugh. He literally has a clip where he's like, I woke up and I just knew that I have to get Justin Herbert to the Hall of Fame. And it's because I think that he knows what they're cooking up for this season is going to be special.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right there. I'm going to leave it there. Hey, to our listeners, Chargers fans, or anybody else, is Herbert a Super Bowl quarterback? Is he your Super Bowl quarterback? Sound off on X and let us know in the YouTube comments below.
And so now we go back out to the Midwest to the dynasty, the Kansas City Chiefs. They were trying to go for the three-peat. They made a run all the way to the Super Bowl, but then finally the cracks of the foundation, the devil voodoo magic ran out, and they fell to the Eagles 40-22. And for me, you look at that recap, and then you look at the offseason, and I see a Super Bowl hangover coming. Their roster's more expensive. It's another year older. They're starting to bleed talent. They had to trade away Joe Thuney, who I think was by far the best offensive lineman on their offensive line. Everyone's a year older. Travis Kelce's fading. He's turning 36. And I just start to see the elements of where basically your offense is going to be what does Patrick Mahomes do on offense. And on defense is always you got to be young, youthful, fast, burstful. And another year of age, Chris Jones, yes, he was elite last season, but he wasn't all-pro elite. He's more expensive this season. Your off-season moves, you try to address your offensive line with one young rookie tackle and Josh Simmons, who I think he's appropriately drafted, but I'm not very high on. I don't think that he needs to be immediately starting at left tackle, but he's going to. And then you overpay for Jalen Moore, who's only ever been a backup tackle in this league. And then Rashee Rice is coming off an injury and faces suspension for a PED. So you've got a tough early schedule to start the season. Your number one wideout's out. Your number one receiving option is going to be a 36-year-old Travis Kelce. And I just see very quick disappointment in your schedule because Week 1, you got the Chargers in Brazil. Let's say you don't travel well and it becomes a slot fest where the Chargers just pound the football down your throat. And then you go out and you get to host the Eagles, the Super Bowl champs, and then you've got the Ravens Week 4. So you could easily be 1-3 to start the season before you've even blinked. So looking at that, my question to you, Liam, is what does the Chiefs' offense look like this season?
As much as I don't like the Chiefs, sorry to all the Chiefs fans, as much as I don't like him, Patrick Mahomes is an incredible quarterback. He's a playmaker. His athleticism is elite. His accuracy is elite. His power, that guy can throw it almost a mile. Mahomes is definitely going to be a guy that can always keep you competitive. But, I mean, just their weapons is another thing that I question. I mean, they drafted Jalen Royals, great wide receiver out of Utah State. I would have loved for the Packers to get him, later. Great vertical threat. But the thing is, he kind of matches the same playing style as, Rashee Rice. So, and I know he's going to be out for the first half of the season, but he could be suspended. But it's just, I don't really get that. And then they got an old Juju Xavier Worthy. He's pretty decent, but is he a wide receiver 1? Can he take that role? Travis Kelce, last year he had a severe decline. And there's a lot of tape out there of when Mahomes would be scrambling and Kelce gave up. That's not a good look to have on tape. And I think Noah Gray should definitely, take a big step up this year. He's a great tight end that's right now second. But I think Andy Reid should definitely give him the ball a lot more. And then Isaiah Pacheco, he's a really good running back, hard hitting. But then who else do they have? And you saw the offense when Pacheco was out last year. Did it work as well? No, their running backs weren't as good. Kareem Hunt, man, when his games were just always kind of tough to watch because he was kind of slow. No, they're definitely not what it used to be. So this offense this year, severe regression, I think. The Chiefs are still going to be good. Andy Reid's there, Pat's there. Their defense is still good, but this, that dynasty, I think going into, I don't want to speak too far in advance, but, next year in 2026, 2027, they're going to have to get rid of a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of probably, free agent retires. And, this dynasty looks like it's closing on an end. They have not really built it as well as you would think to keep it sustainable. I think, Vegas has them at, 11.5? Vegas has them at 11.5 wins. I might take the under because this division is so competitive and that schedule at first is tough. If you were the Chiefs going 1-3, and look what they did last year. They barely won every single game. It was that voodoo magic, like you said. So, What do you think, Mason?
I think you're hitting a lot on the head, hammering a lot of the points that I agree with. I'm just going to play the devil's advocate role here because
Sure.
the Chiefs are the Chiefs. You know, they've won 2 Super Bowls. They've been in 3 of the last 4. Patrick Mahomes is still the best quarterback in football. Andy Reid is still the best head coach in football. And if they're going to do what they're going to try to, who they're always historically compared to, the Patriots, this is going to have to be the last era of the John Dorsey draft pick Chiefs. They're going to have to start retooling their roster. And for y'all that don't know why I plugged John Dorsey there, he was the guy that, you know, drafted Chris Jones, drafted Patrick Mahomes, drafted Travis Kelce, drafted basically any good old player on their team, that guy drafted him. We got a video that you can go check out, Fourth and Forever. He's the secret architect behind that dynasty. Y'all should look at it. But because all those draft picks happened pre-2017, 2018, they're starting to all age out except Patrick Mahomes. His prime's going to be 10 more years. If you're going to maximize that prime, which they plan to do with what they have him signed to, and the draft picks they're trying to make, Xavier Worthy, young wideout, Rashee Rice, young wideout. They're trying to get younger on the offensive line. This season, what's worrisome for where they're predicted and what they're trying to do, their draft picks scream to me trying to retool, get youthful, get young. But their contracts, their roster, who's there, scream, we got to win right now. This is the last season. And so I think this is the last season of that era, to where what I can see happening is they go 10-7, 11-6, and they lose in the divisional round, or they lose the conference championship game. That's where I think there's the roster, the way that they're going, looks at. But they could easily blow through that and be the same Chiefs. Maybe they end up winning 12 games. But just the way that their roster looks, the moves that they've made, and where they're at, Liam, I think that you're right to where that fall is going to be a lot sooner than any of us expect.
Yeah, I mean, like, their draft picks, in my opinion, haven't really turned out. I mean, Creed Humphrey, fantastic draft pick. The Packers picked Josh Myers right in front of him. And, you know, we really regret that. We have a terrible time selecting linemen in the first round. But besides Creed Humphrey, I mean, you know, you could say Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy are good, but this roster is just looking, you know, let's say as short as a year ahead, 2 years ahead, definitely. It's going to have to be brand new. They're going to have to bring people in. I mean, I guess we have to wait for this draft class, but not all impressed for the Chiefs' future with what they're doing. I mean, as long as Patrick Mahomes is there, you could say, yeah, they're going to be fine. And Andy Reid is a fantastic coach. The plays that he draws up, insane.
Crazy.
But, yeah, I mean, you kind of talked about, like, how the Chiefs done, Kelce end of career, who's their wide receiver. Is the defense about to get redone too?
It's a great question. I mean, I don't know. I think you pointed something out, though, is that, you know, their draft picks in the past 4, 5, 6 years haven't been as great as you would want. Trey Smith, diamond in the rough. Like, offensive line, they've proven they can draft and develop offensive line. It might not be my flavor of tackle that they selected, but maybe Josh Simmons is going to pan out. And so if they hit on this draft, which they have to, every player that they take, they have got to hit on, this season could end up being par for the course for what the Chiefs have done. But I think the cracks of the foundation are showing because that foundation was built off of a talent evaluator that is no longer there in John Dorsey. But anyways, going back to where they're at right now, where the Chiefs are going to be, you know, I want to leave this with the viewers. Is this going to be Travis Kelce's last drive? Is this going to be his last season with the Chiefs? Are they going to continue and make another run at the Super Bowl? Debate us. Let us know if we got it all wrong, if we're crazy, if the Chiefs are going to win like they always have. Show us on X, show us in the YouTube comments below, and let us know.
We're going for a way too early season projections and predictions. I'm going to name off the Sideline Journals, our projected records. So we got, starting off with the Chiefs, the defending AFC West champions. We got them going 10-7.
Yeah.
All right. The Chargers, 11-6. Therefore, that must mean the Chargers are going to win the AFC West. Broncos, 9-8. You know, just over 500. And the Raiders, just under 500 at 8-9. Mason, Why did we come up with this?
Man, the viewers are probably already screaming at their phones, probably already typing about we don't watch ball, we're casuals, don't know anything. But if you look at the makeup of their entire schedules, we outline the lay of the land with these teams and where they're at right now, and it comes up with a mix of where it's going to be the most competitive division in the NFL, in the toughest conference in the NFL, and I think it's going to shake out exactly like that. You look at the Chiefs going 10-7. I think Mahomes and Reed are magical enough to keep a lackluster roster comparative to where they have been super competitive, but I do think O-line issues of them learning and developing young talent, their lack of a true wideout one is going to continue to show up, and it's going to show regression. I think they're going to lose tough matchups in the Eagles, Ravens, and Bills. You know, me and Liam were just kind of looking at their schedule all the way up to their bye, and I have them being at 5-4. Liam, I think you had them even worse than 5-4.
Just before that bye week, it's a little tough, Mason. Do you want me to say anything else about it?
Yeah, I think you should let them know what your prediction was there.
All right, that week 1 going against the Chargers, it's gonna be a fantastic game. I got that as the game of the week. Then they gotta play Philly. That's gonna be tough. I mean, they are so good. That roster is so stacked. Got the loss there, and then week 3, got them going to New York playing the Giants, and they got them going home with the L. Yes, the Chiefs with an L against the Giants.
Guess Russell Wilson's gonna have a legacy game or something.
I think Dabble is going to be cooking. We're going to have some run the ball with Scatadoo. Russ is going to be throwing that moon ball to Malik, who is an elite wide receiver, Malik Neighbors. And their wide receiver room's not bad. All right, so pretty good so far. Their defense is pretty, I don't want to say stacked, but that front line is going to give trouble to that Chiefs offensive line that has a lot of troubles.
I see the vision.
We'll just say it again, Dexter Lawrence. And then you got Thibodeau, and you got Abdul Carter. That is scary. So
Brian Burns mentioned Brian
game.
Burns would like to get in that conversation right there over Thibodeau.
Sure. Yeah. And then just following, then they play Baltimore. They're going to beat Jacksonville, but then it's going to be a tough game with Detroit. And then Vegas, Washington, Buffalo to get to the bye. Washington, Buffalo is going to be a really tough one. I got the Chiefs doing a little worse. I said 5-4.
Yeah, 5-4.
I think you guys did. Yeah, 5-4. I think maybe 4-5, realistically. So hey, don't hate me. I think if you were to tell me that last season, are we just gonna pick the favorites the entire time? No, upsets are gonna happen. All right, so don't hate me. I think there's gonna be an upset that happens week 3, Kansas City, Giants. Right down.
And I don't think it's too crazy. I think it could absolutely happen. So Chiefs 10-7, 5-4 going to the bye. Has them at 4-5, and then we got the Broncos at 9-8. I think their defense will carry them, but Nix's lack of weapons, a tougher schedule, second season in the league, I think it's going to limit their upside. And because of that, depending on how tiebreakers break down, they'll either sneak in as the 7th seed or narrowly miss the playoffs.
Broncos, I probably got. It's going to be really tough for them to get in. I mean, the whole AFC is going to have to stink, I think, really for them to get in, which could happen when, which might be pretty bad. Browns are going to be bad. Titans not very good. So, they could maybe sneak in there, but I don't think it's likely. 9-8, I think that's about right. What do you think about the Raiders?
The Raiders. I have to go 8-9. Jeanty and Smith, I think they're going to spark offensive improvement. I'm higher on them because I can just see the vision of what Chip Kelly's going to do with that offense. I think Ashton Jeanty's going to win Rookie of the Year. I think Brock Bowers is going to repeat as an All-Pro tight end. I think Geno Smith's going to provide them something that they haven't had since Derek Carr, an actual good quarterback back there. And I think that because of that, they're going to be a lot more competitive than anyone's going to want to give them credit for. But they still have a very brutal schedule and a very brutal division. It's a year 1 for the regime and organization. They still have some glaring defensive holes in the interior of their defensive line and their secondary. I think this is going to change a lot if Christian Wilkins doesn't get healthy from his blood clots in his foot. Their defense might be a lot worse, might be more of a 7-10, 6-11 team. but I see the vision, the pathway to where they're 8-9. They're a lot competitive. They win some upsets, some games late that no one wants them to win, and I have them finishing at 8-9. But Liam, we have the Chargers, the division winner. How did that happen?
How did that happen? It happened a couple of years ago, and then they hired Harbaugh. It's been a thing building for years. They drafted that franchise quarterback, a while ago. Was that 2020? My memory's failing me. But Justin Herbert, franchise quarterback, got him a long time ago, and the team may not have matched it. But you got a fantastic foundation now. This is the year they should really take off, prove themselves. I thought last year they weren't going to be that good, and they surprised us. They surprised us pretty good with how good everybody was and how well everybody clicked. Is it hard to see the missing piece, or is it Mario Hampton or Trey Harris? They're a team that, they really started building around Herbert, and they're getting him weapons. And so I'm thinking they're definitely improving from last year, which is going to be pretty crazy. So Chargers 11-6, winning the division. Bet on it.
And like you said, Sportsline gives them a 37% division odd chance to win, plus 325. I would take that, make some money. And their balanced roster with the top defense, Herbert's growth, I think it's going to edge Kansas City out. And I think it's because of the Chiefs' O-line and wide receiver issues that make them vulnerable.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Well-balanced, Mason, you said it right there. I mean, the run and the pass and the defense, I think they don't have it all, but they have it pretty good right now.
And so, is this the most balanced AFC West we've seen in recent history? Yes.
100% yes, easily.
Absolutely. And so they had 3 playoff teams last season in they had 3 last season in 2024. And I think all 4 teams are going to be within 3 and 4 wins. And so Chiefs fans, your dominance of 9 straight division titles, I think it faces its toughest test.
I agree. I think part of this is like the Chiefs declining a little bit, and then everybody else they've made improvements. Broncos not so much, but Chargers and Raiders, it's all getting really close. If I'm a Chiefs fan, I'd be scared too.
Yeah, so you go ahead.
Who comes in second place? We've been talking about maybe, the Chiefs, and we just talked about the record, but, your opinion, who do you have coming in second? Is it the Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders, Chargers? Do you want to make any bold predictions right here?
Here's my bold prediction. We have the record there of 11-6, 10-7, 9-8, 8-9 for the 4 teams. I have 2 playoff teams coming out of the division. It's going to be the Chargers and the Chiefs. The Chargers are going to officially win the division, and the Chiefs are going to have to go on the road the first time really ever in the Patrick Mahomes era, having to play all their playoff games on the road, the wild card round. I think the Broncos are going to miss out just because of their offensive limits and a sophomore slump for Nix, and I think the Raiders are a year away from being able to make it. And so, historically, the AFC West sends 3 teams into 2024, but I think 2025, the way the AFC conference is, it's going to be tighter. And so, you asked me who I think is going to come in second place this year. It's going to be the Chiefs, but Denver could sneak in if Bo Nix doesn't have the slump and the Chiefs' schedule haunts them early. If they go into their bye week 3-6 or 4-5, the Bo Nix in the Broncos country could sneak into the playoffs, Liam.
Yeah, one thing I just thought of real quick, if you don't mind, let's just think for a little bit. Let's say that Chiefs start off really, really tough. They're definite tough games like, let me pull it up, Philly, really beats them up. Baltimore, the Detroit game ends up being tougher than they like. Washington, Buffalo, all tough games. So what if they go into that bye week? Like, we got to change. Let's fire somebody. Oh, man. What if they do that? Not Andy Reid.
Who are you saying they fire?
What if they're like, we got to change it up? This isn't looking good. This is a bad start. So what if the Kansas City Chiefs say, hey, we're going to get rid of our defensive or offensive coordinator? I'm just saying, if they have a tough start before the bye week.
It's a bold take. Y'all have to drop down and let us know if you agree with Liam or not. And that's a perfect segue too into kind of a coaching hot seat meter check on all the coaches in the division. And here is my hot take to counter that. I think if the Broncos went at their bye week and they have a losing record and Bo Nix is playing like crap, I think he could see Sean Payton kicked out of town. I
don't know. It's super early into Sean Payton with the Broncos.
I don't. I think it's year 3 for Sean Payton. If the rookie quarterback that showed so much development, and if you were 3-6, 2-7, and there's a lot of strain there, you got an ownership that's shown they're not afraid to throw money and make bold decisions. I could see it happen. I really could.
Yeah, I mean, this division, coaching hot seat, I guess, Jim Harbaugh, everybody loves him across the league, and especially probably the Chargers fans. Andy Reid is going to be safe. Andy Reid is so safe. There's nothing, and Pete Carroll's first year. So, yeah, I guess Sean Payton, there could be realistic. I don't think so, though. Even if they have a disappointing year, I just still think that Sean Payton is just such a good coach.
No, sorry. I was just going to jump in real quick. You're absolutely right. Being realistic here, looking at the 4 coaches in the division, I don't think there's one in the hot seat. Yeah, I mean, just kind of looking at it, that's what you agree with, Liam?
Oh, yeah, I mean, this division is stacked with coaches.
It is. Something that maybe could happen, though, if no one really thinks about it, and this is just me kind of looking at it. If the Chiefs are disappointing, let's say they go 10-7, they flame out in the wild card round, could Andy Reid and Kelsey step away and officially retire?
That's a question for the viewers.
All right, y'all have to let us know down below, and if you agree with our official predictions of the Chargers winning the division, the Chiefs narrowly making it into the playoffs, debate us and let us know down below. Guys, I'll hear here first. The 4 teams, the AFC West, you heard their moves through the offseason, where they're going, where we see them going, what their early schedule and a way too early prediction looks like. My bold prediction from this week's episode is the Chargers are going to dethrone the Chiefs, and Herbert's finally going to get a playoff W and make it to the conference championship. But our War Room analyst Liam has got the inside scoop on what next week's episode of the War Room is going to look like.
Hey, next week we're sticking with the AFC. We're going to go out east. We're going to go east. We're going to check in on the MVP Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. What have they done this offseason? We're going to look at the Patriots. Are they rising up? Are you going to have them fell? What's their schedule going to look like? And we're going to look at the Dolphins. Are they going to be disappointing this year? And let's not forget about the Jets. Justin Fields. I mean, is he that good? I'm excited to talk about that. So be sure to tune in, like this one, subscribe if you haven't yet. Mason, what do you say?
Absolutely, he hit it the best. Make sure to follow us along on TikTok for more wrath level takes from yours truly right here. Follow us on Instagram. We're going to be dropping league news, the Sideline Files, and then subscribe on YouTube so you can catch the War Room podcast presented by the Sideline Journal. Anyways, I know Liam's off to go get that Charlie's Chicken Box to watch the OKC Thunder make their way back to the NBA Finals.
Thunder up.
Thunder up. Go Oklahoma City, baby. Peace out.
George, let's go.
We hope you enjoyed the 5th episode of the War Room podcast presented by the Sideline Journal. Make sure to check out, the latest episode of Fourth and Forever, John Dorsey, the Secret Architect, and consider subscribing so that way you can support us along in our journey in this space as we try to deliver more cutting-edge episodes of the War Room. Anyways, peace out.